What happens when a music superstar refuses to play by the rules of late-night television? In just 46 seconds, one of America's most respected talk show hosts would reveal himself as the villain, and his guest would become an unexpected hero. This is the story of how Teddy Swims walked off set, leaving Jon Stewart speechless and the entire studio in complete shock. The night started like any other taping. The audience filled the seats, excited and chattering among themselves. The cameras were rolling, red lights blinking. The production team was ready for what they thought would be a typical interview. Just another night of entertainment. Teddy Swims, the singer with the voice that could make angels weep and grown men cry, walked onto the stage with his signature humble smile that had endeared him to millions. He wore a simple black shirt and well-worn jeans, his long hair tied back in a loose bun that showed off his kind face. His tattoos were visible on his arms, in each one telling a story of his journey through life, through struggles, through triumph. The crowd erupted in applause that lasted for what felt like minutes. The sound filled every corner of the studio. They loved him. Everyone loved him. His music had touched millions of hearts across the world, resonating with people from all walks of life. His genuine personality, the way he spoke so openly and honestly about his struggles and triumphs, about his mistakes and victories, made him one of the most beloved artists in the industry. Fans adored him not just for his incredible vocal talent, which was undeniable, but for the raw honesty he brought to everything he did. He was real in a world full of fakeness. Jon Stewart stood up from behind his desk, extending his hand with that famous grin that had made him a household name across America. The two men shook hands firmly, and Teddy nodded respectfully, his eyes showing genuine excitement to be there. But something felt off from the very beginning. There was an edge to Jon's demeanor, something sharp and cold, a darkness in his eyes that suggested this interview might not go the way anyone in the room expected. The producers in the control booth were watching carefully through their monitors, sensing the strange energy building. Even the band members seemed to pick up on the unusual tension hanging in the air like a storm cloud waiting to break. Teddy Swims, "Everybody," Jon announced loudly, gesturing broadly to the audience with both hands in an exaggerated theatrical motion. The man who can sing anything, apparently. The guy with the voice. The internet sensation. Welcome. Welcome to the show. The audience cheered again, even louder this time. The applause built like a wave. People were standing up in their seats, whistling loudly, shouting his name with genuine affection. Teddy sat down in the guest chair, nodding gratefully toward the crowd, placing his hand over his heart in a humble gesture of appreciation that showed his true character. "Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thanks for having me here tonight, Jon. I'm really excited to be on your show. This is honestly a dream come true for me. I've watched you for years," Teddy said, his southern drawl making every word sound warm and sincere and genuine. His voice carried that natural friendliness that made people feel like they were talking to an old friend they had known their whole lives. "A dream. Right. Sure it is," Jon replied with a hint of sarcasm, settling back into his chair with a slight smirk playing across his face. He picked up his note cards from the desk, glanced at them briefly with mock interest, then tossed them aside theatrically, like they meant nothing. "So Teddy, I gotta ask you something right off the bat here. I'm sure everyone's wondering the same thing I am. Your music, it's very emotional, very soulful. You've got this incredible voice. Nobody in this room can deny that. The talent is there. But you know what I find really interesting? Really fascinating, actually. You're covering all these songs from other artists. You're singing other people's music. I mean, really, when are you going to write something original? When are we actually going to hear something that's yours? Something that comes from your own heart and mind, not from somebody else who already did the work?" The studio went quiet instantly. The energy shifted in a heartbeat, like someone had sucked all the air and joy out of the room in one swift motion. You could feel the tension crackling through the space, like electricity before lightning strikes. The audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats, looking at each other with confused and worried expressions. Mothers covered their children's ears. People looked at each other wondering if they had heard correctly. This was supposed to be a friendly interview, a celebration, a chance for Teddy to talk about his brand new album that had just dropped last month to critical acclaim, a chance to discuss his sold-out tour that was breaking attendance records across the entire country. But Jon had just thrown the first punch, and it landed hard and cruel right in the center of Teddy's chest. Teddy's smile didn't falter completely, though. He had been through too much in his life, seen too many hard times, overcome too many obstacles to let one comment from one person shake him to his core. He nodded slowly, thoughtfully, taking a moment to collect his thoughts and his feelings, choosing his words carefully, like he always did when something important was at stake. Well, Jon, I really appreciate the question, and I'm glad you brought it up because it's something I'm passionate about explaining. But I actually write a lot of my own music. A lot of it. My new album, the one that just came out last month to such an amazing response, has 12 original songs on it. 12 songs that I wrote myself, or co-wrote with some incredibly talented songwriters who I'm honored to work with. The covers you're talking about, the ones that got all the views and attention, those were from my YouTube days, years and years ago, when I was just starting out. That's how I initially built my following. By sharing my deep love for other people's music. By putting my own unique spin on songs that meant something profound to me. But I've always been a songwriter too. That's always been a huge part of who I am as an artist and as a person. Jon waved his hand dismissively through the air, as if Teddy's entire explanation, his entire career, his entire life's work meant absolutely nothing at all. His face showed something like cruel amusement, mixed with open condescension and disrespect. Yeah, okay, sure. But that's not really what people know you for, though, is it? Let's be honest with each other here. Be honest with yourself. People know you as the cover guy, the dude who sings other people's hits and gets millions of views on YouTube for it. I mean, come on. Where's the real artistry in that? Where's the actual creativity? Where's the innovation? Anyone with a decent voice can sing a song that's already been written by someone else. That's not exactly groundbreaking stuff. Is it? It's not like you're pushing boundaries or creating something new. The audience made a collective sound of disapproval that rose up like a wave. It was like watching discomfort wash over the entire studio in one motion. Some people gasped audibly, their hands flying to their mouths. Others murmured to each other in concerned tones, wondering what was happening, why this was happening. A few people in the front row shook their heads in disappointment and disgust. This was so uncomfortable to watch. Jon Stewart, the man who had built his reputation and career on being sharp but always fundamentally fair, the man who millions trusted to navigate difficult conversations with intelligence and grace, was being outright disrespectful to his guest. And everyone in that room could see it happening. Everyone could feel it. Teddy sat forward in his chair, leaning in with his elbows on his knees. His expression was still calm and composed on the surface. I'm trying to maintain professionalism, but his eyes were showing the deep hurt. He was a kind soul who wore his heart on his sleeve for the whole world to see, and you could watch the words hitting him like physical blows. But he kept his composure and his cool as best he could. Jon, with all respect, and I truly mean that from my heart, I think you might be misinformed about my body of work. And that's completely okay. I understand. You can't know everything about every artist who comes through here. I get that. But interpretation really is an art form too. It truly is. When I sing someone else's song, when I cover a track, I'm not just copying it note for note like some kind of robot or karaoke machine. I'm not just doing a straight imitation. I'm bringing my own soul to it, my own life experience, my own pain and joy, and everything I've lived through. I'm telling a story through that song that's uniquely mine, and that's different from anyone else's version, and I'm proud of that work. It connected with millions of people all around the world. It meant something to them. But like I said before, and I really want to be crystal clear about this so there's no confusion, I write my own songs too. I've been writing songs since I was a teenager sitting in my bedroom. I've been doing this for years and years and years. Jon leaned back in his chair slowly, crossing his arms over his chest in a defensive posture. His face showed mock confusion, like he was playing dumb on purpose to make a point. He raised his eyebrows high and tilted his head to one side, like a confused dog. Misinformed? Me? I really don't think so. I don't think I'm misinformed at all about this. I think I'm just asking the honest questions that people are thinking at home right now as they watch this. The questions nobody else wants to ask. I mean, let's be truly honest here for a second, shall we? You got famous. You built your career by riding on the coattails of real musicians, actual artists who did the hard work. You sang songs that were already hits, songs that other people wrote from their hearts, songs that other people made popular through their own talent. You just sang them in a slightly different way. That's not exactly breaking new ground, is it? One, that's not exactly pushing boundaries or being innovative or adding something new to the world. It's just covering ground that's already been covered by better artists. The studio erupted into chaos. The audience booed so loudly it echoed off the walls. People started shouting at Jon, their voices filled with anger and disappointment. Some were yelling for him to stop this madness. Others were calling out their support for Teddy, telling him he didn't deserve this treatment. This was crossing every line imaginable, and everyone in that room knew it deep in their bones. The cameras kept rolling steadily, capturing every single second of this complete disaster unfolding in real time for the whole world to eventually see. The director in the control booth was probably screaming into his headset at the top of his lungs, but nobody was stopping the cameras from recording this moment. Teddy took a deep breath that you could see fill his entire chest. You could watch his chest rise and fall with the effort of staying calm. His hands gripped the armrests of his chair so tightly his knuckles turned white. The leather creaked slightly under the intense pressure. He was trying so desperately hard to stay professional, to keep his composure intact, to not lose his temper on national television in front of millions of people. But you could see the hurt flooding his eyes. The pain of being dismissed and belittled by someone he had respected and admired for years. With all due respect, Jon, and I genuinely mean that, sincerely from the bottom of my heart, I came here tonight for one reason. I came here to talk about my music. I came here to connect with your audience, to share my story with people who might not know it. I came here to talk about where I've been in my life and where I'm going in my career. I didn't come here tonight to be insulted in front of all these people. I didn't come here to have my entire career, everything I've worked for, dismissed like it's nothing. I've worked incredibly, unbelievably hard to get where I am today. Harder than you could possibly ever imagine or understand. I started singing in church as a little kid, barely old enough to hold a microphone without dropping it. I've been playing dive bars for years and years, sometimes performing for 10 people, sometimes for just the bartender and one drunk guy. I've been writing songs in tiny apartments with no heat in the brutal winter, no air conditioning in the scorching summer, pouring my heart and soul and everything I have into every single note I sing. And yes, absolutely, I covered songs. Yes, I sang other people's music with pride, because I genuinely love music more than almost anything, because I wanted to share that deep love with people all over the world. But that doesn't make me any less of an artist. That doesn't make what I do any less valid or meaningful or important to the people it touches. The audience cheered loudly for Teddy. They were completely on his side now. Every single person. Every single soul in that studio was rooting for him with everything they had. But Jon wasn't backing down at all. If anything, he seemed to be getting even more aggressive, more confrontational, more cruel. He leaned forward menacingly, pointing his finger accusingly. "Oh, here we go. Here we go with the classic sob story. Everyone's got one of those, right? Everyone in this business. Everyone's got a struggle story they pull out when they need sympathy. Everyone started in some tiny small town, somewhere, playing for nobody, working so hard. That's not special, Teddy. That's not unique to you. You know what's actually special? What's actually worth celebrating? Actual talent. Actual originality. In creating something genuinely new from nothing. And I'm just not seeing it from you at all. I'm not seeing anything that tells me you're more than just a guy with a good voice who figured out how to sing other people's songs really well and make money from it." That was it. That single moment. That was when everything changed forever. Teddy stood up from his chair in one fluid motion. The movement was sudden, but completely controlled. The microphone clipped to his shirt picked up every sound. His steady breathing, the rustle of fabric. The entire studio went completely and utterly silent. Not a single sound anywhere. You could have heard a pin drop on that stage from the back row. Every single person in that room, from the cameramen sweating behind their equipment to the audience members frozen in their seats to the producers panicking in the control booth, knew something monumental was about to happen. Something historic. This wasn't just an awkward interview anymore. This wasn't just an uncomfortable moment. This was going to be history. "Jon," Teddy said, his voice steady but absolutely firm. There was no anger in his tone at all, just pure conviction and strength. "I've been nothing but respectful to you from the exact moment I walked onto this stage tonight. Nothing but respectful and kind. I came on your show as an invited guest. I wanted to have a real, meaningful conversation with you. I wanted to connect with you and your audience. But you've made it abundantly, perfectly clear that you don't respect me or my music at all. You've insulted me multiple times now, one after another. You've dismissed my entire body of work like it means nothing to anyone. You've belittled my journey, my struggles, my triumphs. And you've done it publicly in front of all these people sitting in this studio and millions upon millions of viewers at home watching this unfold right now on their televisions." Jon tried desperately to interrupt, now holding up his hand in a dismissive gesture that showed his true character. His face showed clear annoyance now, irritation that someone was challenging him. "Teddy, come on, don't be so overly sensitive about this. It's just television. It's entertainment. We're just having a conversation here, back and forth. It's just jokes and banter. Don't take everything so personally. Learn to laugh at yourself a little bit." "No," Teddy said firmly and loudly, cutting him off with a voice that was stronger now, more forceful and powerful. "Those weren't jokes at all. I know exactly what jokes sound like. I've heard plenty of jokes in my life. Jokes are funny. Jokes make people smile. Jokes bring people together and create joy. Jokes make people laugh and feel good about themselves and the world. What you did, what you've been doing for the past several minutes straight, was tear someone down for absolutely no good reason whatsoever. You attacked me personally and professionally, and I'm not going to sit here in this chair one more second and let you continue to do that to me. I won't do it. I refuse." The audience burst into thunderous applause. It started with just a few people, and then spread like wildfire through the entire studio until everyone was participating. They were standing now, rising to their feet, every single person in every row, clapping so loudly it shook the walls, supporting Teddy completely and absolutely. Some people were cheering his name over and over like a chant. Others were wiping tears from their eyes with shaking hands. The camera operators looked at each other with wide eyes full of shock, completely unsure what to do in this unprecedented situation, but knowing instinctively they needed to keep filming every second. The producers in the control room were probably losing their absolute minds, watching their carefully planned show spiral completely out of control. Jon's entire face changed completely in an instant. The smug confidence drained away like water, replaced by something else entirely. Surprise, definitely. Shock at what was happening. Or maybe pure anger that his guest, someone who was supposed to just sit there politely and play along with whatever he said, was standing up to him on his own show in front of everyone. He stood up too, quickly and aggressively, his chair rolling backward and hitting the desk. He pointed directly at Teddy with an accusing finger. "You can't just walk off my show like this. You don't get to do that. You signed a legal contract to be here tonight. You agreed to this appearance. You made a commitment to me and to this show. You don't just get to leave whenever you feel like it because you got your feelings hurt." Teddy looked at him with an expression of pure, complete disbelief. His mouth hung open slightly in shock before he gathered himself and responded with strength. "A contract? You're seriously actually going to talk to me about a legal contract right now? After everything you just said to me? After how you just treated me?" "Jon, I agreed to come on here and promote my new album that I worked years on. I agreed to sit down and have a professional, respectful conversation about my music and my life and my journey. I didn't agree to be your personal punching bag for the night so you could feel clever. I didn't agree to sit here and take verbal abuse while you try to make yourself look smart and superior at my expense for laughs. And no contract anywhere in the world, no piece of paper with signatures on it, says I have to sit here and take that kind of disrespectful treatment from anyone. Nobody anywhere has to accept being disrespected and humiliated like that." Jon's face turned bright red, or actually bright red like a tomato. His hands clenched into tight fists at his sides, shaking slightly. You could see the veins in his neck standing out. He was absolutely furious that he was losing complete control of his own show, furious that someone was openly challenging his authority on his own territory in his own studio. "This is my show. My show. Do you understand that basic fact? You don't get to tell me how to run it. You don't get to dictate what happens here or how I conduct my interviews. You don't get to just walk out and leave whenever you want because your precious feelings got hurt by a few questions. This is television. This is entertainment. This is what we do here. Grow up and deal with it like an adult instead of running away." The audience turned on Jon completely and totally now. They booed him so loudly it was almost deafening, the sound filling every inch of the studio. While some people were yelling at him to apologize immediately, others were shouting their support for Teddy, telling him to leave, telling him he was doing exactly the right thing, and they supported him. Someone near the back yelled loudly that Jon should be ashamed of himself. Another person shouted that this was disgraceful. The energy in the entire room had shifted completely, totally, irreversibly. Jon Stewart, the host, the person in charge, the man everyone had come to see and admire, but had become the villain in his own story. And Teddy Swims, the guest who was supposed to just sit there politely and answer questions with a smile, had become the hero everyone was rooting for. Teddy reached down slowly and unclipped the microphone from his shirt. The action was gentle and deliberate, showing respect even in this moment. He set it carefully and gently on the chair he had been sitting in, treating the equipment with care. He looked out at the audience with gratitude, but making direct eye contact with as many people as he possibly could, seeing all those faces looking back at him with pure love and support and complete understanding. Then he looked back at Jon one final time, meeting his eyes directly. "You know what, Jon? I feel sorry for you. I really, truly, genuinely do. You have this amazing, incredible platform that most people could only dream of having. You have millions and millions of people who watch your show every single night without fail. You have the ability to reach so many people across this country, to influence so many lives in positive ways, to make a real difference. You could use that incredible gift to lift people up, to have real meaningful conversations that matter, to make people feel good about themselves and hopeful about the world. But instead, for whatever reason that I can't understand, you chose tonight to use it to tear me down publicly. And for what purpose? To make yourself feel bigger and more important. To get a few cheap laughs from your audience? To prove some kind of twisted point about your superiority? It's sad, man. It's really, genuinely, deeply sad. And I honestly hope someday you figure out why you felt the need to do that to another human being. Jon's jaw dropped wide open in complete shock. His mouth literally hung open like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. Nobody talked to him like that. Not on his own show. Not in front of his audience. Not in front of the cameras broadcasting to millions. He tried desperately to respond, but no words came out of his mouth. He just stood there, completely speechless, frozen in place, like a statue. Teddy continued speaking, and his voice was getting stronger and more powerful with every single word. The emotion was building inside him and flowing out through his voice. I came from nothing. Absolutely nothing at all. I worked my entire life, every single day, without exception, to be able to stand on a stage and share my music with people who need to hear it, to touch their hearts in meaningful ways, to make them feel something real. Every single day of my life, I try to be better than I was yesterday. I try to be kinder to everyone I meet. I try to spread love and positivity through everything I do in this world. And you know what the amazing thing is? My fans appreciate that effort. They show up for me night after night on tour. They support me through thick and thin. They believe in me and what I'm doing. Not because I'm perfect, because I'm so far from perfect, it's not even funny, but because I'm real with them, because I'm honest about who I am, because I care about them deeply and they can feel that genuine care. And you, sitting up there behind your fancy desk on your high horse, acting like you're so much better than me, acting like what I do doesn't matter to anyone, acting like my entire career is just some kind of joke to mock, that says absolutely everything about you and your character and absolutely nothing about me or mine. The audience went absolutely wild with emotion. The applause and cheering were thunderous, shaking the very foundation of the building. People were on their feet, jumping up and down with joy, clapping so hard their hands must have been hurting. Some people were crying openly and unashamedly, in tears streaming down their faces in rivers. Others were hugging complete strangers next to them. This was so much more than just a walkout from a talk show. This was so much more than just an awkward interview gone wrong. This was a moment that would be talked about and remembered and referenced for years and years to come. This was someone standing up for themselves in the face of power, for their art, for their dignity, for everything they believed in and held dear. That night, in those 46 seconds, from the very first cruel insult to Teddy's brave decision to leave with his head high, everything changed forever in ways nobody could have predicted. A guest became a hero that people would talk about and celebrate for years to come. A host became a cautionary tale, a perfect example of what not to do, of how not to treat people who trust you. And a studio audience learned something powerful and important. But they learned that sometimes the most powerful and brave thing you can possibly do is simply refuse to participate in your own humiliation. Sometimes walking away with your dignity completely intact is the bravest choice of all. Right.